Welcome to DEMOCREPUBLIX, where we cover the real news that matter to we the people. We're going to go over some headlines, see what we got going on around the world. Let's see, give me 1 second, make sure everything's up and running. Looks to be. All right, let's see. Y'all know how we do here on Headlines. This is episode 9. Y'all might want to go ahead and share this out. Go ahead and share it out. Hit that like button. It's your boy JJ the Psych. Alright, let's see. The Gateway Pundit top stories. Let's see. Crooked New York prosecutors investigating Trump former bodyguard turned COO amid claims Trump ordered employees illegally received tax-free perks. I mean, Trump is not an idiot. He knows that they're going to go through all of his business with a fine-tooth comb. So I doubt he'd be doing anything or having people do anything illegal because he know they're going to be looking for him. So I don't know what they're trying to prove with this. Arizona audit chairwoman Dr. Kelly Ward corrects the lying Anderson Cooper. Let's see. It's a video here. I really don't like to get into too much of the whole election fraud thing because even if it is election fraud, even though it was a bunch of election fraud that went on, even if they can prove it, Biden is already in office. There's really nothing they can do about it. But let's see what she says. Let's see. Oh, I have to actually go to, hold on. Let's try this again. Should have just played the video. Let's see. Sorry, y'all, getting off to a rough start. It's been a long day. Those of y'all don't know, I am a mental health therapist. I work at a prison and I work at a private practice. Worked at a prison all day, therapizing inmates, and then I came I came home and did an online counseling session. I stayed busy. So just give me a second to get my bearings. Okay, I am gonna have to play from Twitter. Looks like.
Hello, Arizona. It is time for the daily update from the Republican Party of Arizona. I am your chairwoman, Dr. Kelly Ward. Arizona Secretary of State, radical, leftist, liberal Democrat Katie Hobbs is on Twitter calling for an end to the full forensic audit of the 2020 Maricopa County election. Again.
Okay, I will say this just because it's an audit. You know what I'm saying? If you done nothing wrong, what are you hiding?
This time her reason is a story from her allies on CNN, who appear to have stolen a story from local reporter Jen Throw-a-Fit Field without even giving her credit for her misinformation. How dare they? CNN claims that data from the Maricopa County audit was taken to a secure lab somewhere in Montana. They even sent a reporter to Montana, to the private property of one of the executives of a company that is a contractor for the forensic audit. The network also appears to want to dox the auditor if they can get away with it by just showing a little video highlighting his property and going to Realtor.com to get information about it. The reporter says he did pass no trespassing signs at the Montana property, so he had to resort to drone footage and real estate listings of the property to get out his propaganda.
Alright, that's enough of that. I don't know if I can watch that for 4 minutes. Basically CNN Stole a reporter's fake news and ran with it. Something they always do. That doesn't surprise me at all. Alright. Let's see. What else is going on? What else is going on in the headlines? Crooked New York prosecutor investigating Trump. Oh, I went over that. President Trump said, I never admitted defeat. I have not conceded. See, the only issue with this is it's really nothing that can be done right now. Just run again in 2024. You're just going to stir up people, Trump. And y'all know I agree with Trump and his policies. But with this, I mean, everyone pretty much know they stole the election. There's no way in hell Biden fumbling around, coming out of basement, got 80-something million votes, more than Obama. Come on, be for real. No one really believes that, but they stole it. They got away with it. Let's move on. Let's try to get them in 2022 and 2024. That's what I got to say about the whole thing. Well, Arizona Secretary of State Hobbs refused to accept 24,000 signatures for Speaker Bowles' recall. How can he do that? Trans female BMX athlete representing the U.S. threatens to burn American flag on podium if she wins at Olympics this summer. Wow. South Jersey waitress abducted and beaten after confronting group of diners who didn't pay a $70 bill on Juneteenth. Wow. Let's see the video on this. It's crazy. Here's the video.
Well, new tonight, police in Gloucester County, New Jersey are searching for a group of people who allegedly assaulted a waitress after leaving without paying the check. Action News reporter Katie Catro joins us live from Turnersville with video you'll only see on Action News.
Wow. Really bad. Buffering.
Walter, police say this waitress is lucky she wasn't more severely hurt. And
Buffering is really bad. What's going on?
also lucky she was able to run back here to the restaurant.
Okay, I'm not going to play the video because it's crazy lag, but I'll read the article. Police in Washington Township are asking the public to help them identify 5 people who abducted the woman. This is crazy. It happened Saturday night around 11:15 p.m. at Nifty 50s in Turnersville. The 20-year-old waitress chased the men out of the restaurant when they left without paying their bill. The men grabbed her and took her away in a white Dodge Durango, brutally beat the young woman as they drove around, then pushed her out of the car. This is sick, man. She was able to run back to the restaurant where she called the police and was taken to a local hospital. The victim suffered bruises and possible concussion. Wow. Now, where was this at? South Jersey? Wow. They beat that poor girl ass. That's not cool. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Arizona Senate to adjourn before Arizona audit results release. Not scheduled to reconvene until 2022. So that's the tactic they pulling. All right, Zero Hedge. Coca-Cola diversity policy risk violated anti-discrimination laws. Shareholders warn. How crowds of partiers transform NYC's Washington Square Park into a no-go zone. So there's a no-go zone now in New York. Let's see what's going on here. Wow. Though it hasn't garnered nearly as much attention as the occupation of Lower Manhattan's Zuccotti Park, which was widely recognized as the genesis of Occupy Wall Street movement that exploded in the years after the financial crisis. The occupation of Washington Square Park has shown no signs of slowing down, even with the Big Apple's crowded mayoral primary just one day away. Some have even likened the park to a no-go zone, a reference to areas typically outside the U.S. where high rates of violent crime prompt outsiders to avoid the area. Late last week, the New York Times published a lengthy piece chronicling the situation at WSP, which has long had the reputation as a haven for the homeless and for drug dealers. Since the city imposed a curfew a few weeks back, the park has become a rallying point for activists and partygoers alike who are trying to make a point about reclaiming public space. The Boogie residents who live in the area surrounding the park told the New York Times that the situation felt like a war. After the NYPD first clashed with revelers in the park on June 5th, the city ordered the police to stand down, prompting homeowners and renters to live near the park to brace for a summer of chaos and sleeplessness. Why do they tell the police to stand down? In all these Democrat-led cities, they don't let the police do their job. They talk about defunding the police. They tell them to stand down. This is horrible. Edith Molina, 19, came down from Bronx. This is a park you come to chill out, she said. In the Bronx, you have gang violence and police run you out of the parks. Here, police don't do anything. On recent weeks, the New York Times reported that the number of visitors in the park sometimes ballooned to more than 1,000 people, packed into a 9.74 acre piece of land in the heart of Greenwich Village. With the homeless and the crowd of young revelers has come drug dealers who have created an influx of crack and heroin dealing in the park. People still do crack. Wow. The Daily Mail added in a story published Sunday night that residents have also complained about prostitution and public sexual acts being carried out in the park. That's just wild. Speaking on Monday, NYC Mayor Bill de Blasio said he believes the situation will resolve itself naturally. Oh yeah, like it has in in Minneapolis. It hasn't resolved naturally there. That's just the dumbest thing I ever heard. It's gonna resolve naturally. Wow. The park is subject to a midnight curfew, but the NYPD has taken a lax approach in recent weeks to enforcing the midnight curfew, allowing revelers to party on long into the night. While the noise has drawn most of the complaints from residents, many have also complained to police about the surge in police. Last Saturday alone, 2 people were stabbed. A man was beaten and mugged on his phone. 77-year-old cook at a nearby diner was attacked after a young man drawn to the area by the park threw a tantrum after being refused access to the diner's bathroom. Handful of overdoses also been reported in the park seemingly every day. This is just crazy. Violent crime has been climbing across the Big Apple since the start of the pandemic. Felony assault are up 8% for the first 6 months of 2021 versus the same period last year, while rapes are up 3%. Shooting in the Big Apple have increased by 64% year over year, while murders are up 13%. This is crazy. This is crazy. While many of the residents who live nearby see themselves as liberals, many fear speaking out because they worry about being labeled a NIMBY, an acronym for Not in My Backyard. The phrase is a reference to supposedly liberal individuals who oppose development like multifamily housing, rehab facilities, and halfway houses in their neighborhoods. Still, a growing number say that they're in favor of more aggressive police tactics as violence in the park has escalated. So, crime in these big cities are going up. But again, like I say time and time again, I blame the people that voted for these people that's allowing it. Ron Paul said the road to authoritarianism is paved in fiat currency. And I concur. I wish Ron Paul was still in government. Let's see. Last week, the Federal Reserve announced it will maintain an interest rate of 0 to 0.25% for the rest of 2021. The Fed said it will also continue its monthly purchase of $120 billion of Treasury and mortgage-backed securities. Some Fed board members are forecasting a rate increase by late 2022 or 2023, though with the rate still not reaching 1%. So the banks and all them can get all these loans. Big businesses can get all these loans for basically no interest. Why? While the common person will have to worry about inflation, the cost of everything is going up. But they can get loans to offset the cost for 0%. That's just crazy. The Fed will neither allow interest rates to rise to market levels nor reduce the purchase of Treasury securities. Significant increase in interest rates would make the government borrowing costs unsustainable. The Fed also raised its projected rate of inflation to 3%, although it still insists that the rise in price is a transitory effect of the end of the lockdown. It's not. It's the inflation is the effect of them printing money. That's what's causing inflation. There is some truth to this, as it will take some time for businesses to get back to full capacity. However, the Fed began taking extraordinary measures to prop up the economy in September 2019 when it started pumping billions of dollars a day into the repo market that banks use to make short-term loans to each other. And they've been talking about the repo market for the last few years now. They just printing and printing. The lockdowns only postponed and deepened the forthcoming Fed calls meltdown. Yeah, they're gonna use it as an excuse. It's gonna happen. The way they've been printing money, it was gonna eventually happen, but they're just gonna blame it on the lockdowns. Germany's Deutsche Bank recently released a paper warning about the Federal Reserve continuing to disregard the inflation risk caused by easy money policies designed to stimulate the economy and facilitate massive government spending. Germans have reason to be sensitive to the consequence of inflation, including hyperinflation. That's what the real problem would be. If we hit hyperinflation, then it would cost $100 for a loaf of bread. It would be crazy. Out of control inflation played a major role in the collapse of the German economy in the 1920s, which led to the rise of the National Socialists. Yeah, but this is how Hitler got into power. They destroyed the economy because of hyperinflation by just printing money, and then that's how Hitler was able to rise. The pattern could repeat itself in America, where we have already witnessed the rise of authoritarianism movements. Last summer, groups exploited legitimate concerns about police misconduct to foment violence across the country. Can anyone doubt that an economic crisis that leads to mass unemployment, foreclosures, and maybe even shortages will result in large-scale violence? True. Ron Paul hit the nail on the coffin. Or that the violence will be exploited by power-hungry politicians, or that many people will once again fall for the big lie that preserving safety requires giving up liberty. And we all know what Benjamin Franklin said about that. Those who give up liberty for safety deserve neither liberty nor safety, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing Benjamin Franklin. I'm going to have to go back and pull that quote. The apparatus of repression already exists in the form of surveillance state, police militarization, and big tech's cooperation with big government to stamp out dissent. It's more than big tech's cooperation. They're actually I think government's actually following big tech's lead. Actually, they're actually the leaders of it. Now President Biden and his congressional allies want to use January 6 U.S. Capitol turmoil to justify expanding government powers in the name of stopping domestic terrorists. Part of a new campaign and expanded censorship of extremism, defined as any view that threatens the status quo. You got any view that's opposite of what the state says, you are considered extremist, basically. And they're coming for y'all too, leftists. You think they're coming after the libertarians and the conservatives, but they're coming after y'all too. It's only a matter of time. The Biden administration has taken a page from the communist playbook and suggesting people report their friends and family who are becoming radicalized. That's horrible. He's making a snitch campaign, basically. We may still have time to prevent collapse in America, or at least to make sure that the collapse leads to a transition to a free society. The key to success is spreading the ideas of liberty until we have the ability to force politicians to dismantle the welfare warfare state. I like that. I'm going to use that term. Welfare warfare state. And the fiat money system that is the lifeblood of authoritarian government. He's being a little bit more optimistic than me. I think it's too late. I think the big media giants have too much power. I think government has too much power, and once they have power, they're not going to cede it. They're not going to cede power. They're going to hold on to that power, and they're going to try to get more power. So Ron Paul's a little bit more optimistic than me. I think it's too late. They're already winning the culture war. Let's see. Thousands of women report period problems potentially tied to COVID jabs. I haven't heard anything about this. I'm going to have to see if there's a study or something pertaining to this. The UK vaccine watchdog is closely monitoring claims that 4,000 plus women have suffered period problems after receiving the COVID-19 jab. While side effects like sore arms, lethargy, soreness, and muscle aches are included in warnings about potential drawbacks of receiving the jab, there are no warning about the period-related complications. Nowhere are period irregularities listed as a potential side effect of the jab, so British regulators are trying to determine whether there is actually a link between the complaints and the jab. Official data obtained by the UK Sunday Times show that the Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, better known as MHRA, received 2,734 reports of period problems linked to the jab, 1,158 related to the other jab, we call it the P jab, and another 66 linked to the M jab of May 17. Complaints focus on heavier than usual bleeding, and it's possible that it could have affected many more women who didn't think to report the issue. And might I add, what about what is the effect going to have on women trying to get pregnant and women that are pregnant? The majority of issues were reported by women aged 30 to 49. So far, at least, MHRA says that there's no evidence that it should add period complications to the list of side effects. That is, the current evidence don't suggest an increased risk of period problems following the jab, the regulator said. But have they actually researched it? Has there been any studies into it is my question. But others are calling for more data to be collected. For example, Dr. Sue Ward, Vice President of Royal College of Obstetricians and gynecologists, said anecdotally some women seem to be reporting heavier periods after receiving the jab. And we would support more data collection in this area to understand why this might be the case. If you do notice any bleeding that is unusual for you, we would recommend you contact your doctor. So, more side effects. That's all I'm going to say about that. Y'all know how YouTube is. All I can say is do your research. Do your research. E pluribus unum. The Supreme Court continues to defy and debunk its critics. Hubble trouble. NASA says space telescope computer halted. I wonder was it hacked or something. Mark McCloskey says he'll go out and buy another AR-15 after guns are confiscated. Good for him. All right, just the news. Read full water cooler interview and transcript with President Trump. Maybe we'll do a separate video on that. U.S. to impose more sanctions on Russia following Navalny in prison, recent cyber attacks. Yeah, right. I don't see Biden imposing any sanctions. He already let him have the gave him the pipeline while shutting down Keystone Pipeline. Let's see what it says. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the U.S. will impose more sanctions on Russia in response to recent cyber attacks and the poisoning and imprisonment of Russian President Vladimir Putin political rival Alexei Navalny, however you say his name. Sullivan made the announcement Sunday but did not provide details about the sanctions. That's because there aren't going to be any. Russia's tight with China, and I can see China's president be like, nah, no sanctions, and Biden saying, okay. The announcement follows Putin saying at the close of a summit last week with President Biden in Geneva that he couldn't promise Navalny will leave prison alive. While Putin also suggested that Navalny incarceration was the consequence of him intentionally breaking state law. During the interview with CNN State of the Union broadcast, Sullivan said the U.S. is waiting to confirm it has the right people before imposing sanctions, but when officials do it, will be with respect to chemical weapons. The U.S. has said it believes Russia is behind a recent series of malware attacks, including one on the Colonial Pipeline, a major supply of petroleum to the U.S. How come every time something happens, they try to blame Russia when we have no proof that it's actually Russia? In April, the administration issued its round of sanctions on Russia in response to Navalny's imprisonment and recent cyber attacks on the U.S. government and companies. The sanctions were intended to make it more difficult for Russia to take part in the global economy. All right, let's see what else we got going on. I think that's it for. We're on just the news. Senator says Dems trying to spend us into oblivion with the largest expansion of government since FDR. That's what the infrastructure bill is. There's no way we'll be able to pay our way out of debt with this bill. Like I don't. Where is the money going to come from? Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott warned that Democrats in Congress are trying to spend us into oblivion with the largest expansion of government since President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal. Quote, the Democrats, they're taking this country in a very, very dangerous direction, Scott said during a speech at the Faith and Freedom Coalition conference on Friday. Quote, they're trying to spend us into oblivion. You look at these numbers of what they're trying to spend. They want to tax us. They want to tax us all and take our money away from us, our hard-working money, and that's true. That's why they're trying to do the whole death tax thing, and everyone knows that majority of poor people and middle class people how they get money is from when family members pass and they leave insurance money and they leave their homes and businesses to their children, and that's how a lot of people come out of poverty. And if he imposed this tax that he's trying to do, this estate tax, it's gonna take away poor people and middle class people money that they get from inheritance, and no one in the media is talking about that. Quote, they're pushing the largest expansion of government since the New Deal. They attack our religious freedom, our Second Amendment rights. They trash our history. They divide us by race, the color of our skin. They won't stand up for our greatest ally in the Middle East, Israel. They're embracing socialism. I thought we beat Russia, the Soviet Union. Scott told the audience that Republicans won't win if they don't show up and fight. See, it's not just the Democrats either, though. The Republicans that's in Congress are sitting by and letting this stuff happen. They're not saying anything. They're not doing anything about it. So even if you put a Republican in office, what is he going to do? He's not going to do anything. What you're going to do to make sure we win is going to determine the future of this great country, he said. There's no plan B. There's no place to move. Scott, chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, slammed S1, the Democrats' federal election law, referring to it as Corrupt Politicians Act, is formally titled For the People Act. It's always the exact opposite of what they name it. This act actually takes away the power of the states to regulate their own, regulate the election, the federal elections, and it hands the power to the federal government. Which is totally unconstitutional. The federal election is supposed to be in the hands of the state. You want it closer to the people. That's why the states have the power of making election laws and stuff like that. You want it closer to the people. You don't want some big overreaching federal government deciding on how to vote in your state. Quote, it's a sham, Scott said. Quote, it's nothing but a big power grab by Washington Democrats. Look, the Democrats don't want free and fair elections. They want to make sure only Democrats can win. That's a good election in their mind. And it's true. It's true. Scott argued that the Democrats engaged in a big lie by claiming any effort by Republicans to reform election law is intended to suppress the vote. Quote, we need to stand up and say that they are lying, he said. Voter ID is not racist. And I say time and time again, that's true. Getting someone to have to show an ID to vote is not racist, because in most states, first of all, you got to saying is racist is saying that black people don't know how to get an ID. That's racist. And then you saying that all black people can't afford to get an ID. That's racist. But that being said, if it's poor people that can't afford to get an ID, in most states, majority of the states, I can't find a state that don't do this, but in most states you can go get your ID for free. The state will pay for you to have your ID if you can't afford it in both states. It's common sense. Preventing ballot harvesting or drop boxes that aren't secure, that's not racist. It's common sense. Preventing illegal immigrants from voting is not racist. It's common sense. The Democrats' Corrupt Politicians Act is an assault on free and fair elections and erode state safeguards that keep each of our elections fair, so individual rights to vote is never diluted. Our goal is maximum participation and zero, not some zero fraud. And that's true. I mean, can't argue against that. They're trying to make it where, I mean, anything, if you go anywhere against any type of Democrat policy, they automatically call it racist, when it's not the case. They so diluted that word by calling everything racist. And then the main people that's calling it racist are not even black, they're white. So what do you know about racism? Alright, let's see. See what we got here. United States joined EU, UK, and Canada in sanctions for Belarus after arrest of journalists. Florida Governor DeSantis beat Trump in 2024 presidential straw poll. Alright. Let's go to Daily Caller. Exploitation of homosexuality. Anthony Mackie shuts down idea the Falcon and the Winter Soldier characters are romantically involved. Wow. They doing too much. They are doing too much. Biden feels rise in crime as a result of gun violence, Psaki says. Gun violence? They always trying to blame guns instead of their crazy policies of defunding police and stuff like that. Biden administration, America allies hammer Belarus with new sanctions. We just read over that. Justin Bieber and supermodel wife Haley posed for photo meeting French leader Emmanuel Macron, and it's gone viral. Analysis: Biden border crisis versus Trump. Here's how they stack up. So let's check this out. This sounds pretty interesting. You got to be a subscriber, so X that. It's a way of workaround on that, so maybe I'll do a separate video on that. Let's see. We're still at the Daily Caller. Biden administration, American allies hammer. Oh, I read that one. Raider star called Nassib announced he's gay. All right. The Hill, Trump former bodyguard investigated. We went over that. Federal judge rules bar. Other officials have qualified immunity from suit over Lafayette Square protests. Move by Catholic bishops against Biden brings howl of hypocrisy. Delta variant has apparently tripled in U.S. in 2 weeks. Here we go again. Texas climate change and the power grid. Manchin-led committee puts forth sprawling energy infrastructure proposal. Exclusive watchdog sues FEC for closing Trump investigation. They will not let it go. All right, the Daily Mail. Portland tourism bosses take out full-page New York Times ad admitting riot hit city has edge. Teens earning $50K a year as managers at fast food chains due to massive staff shortages. Wow. I couldn't imagine being a teenager and being a manager making 50 G's a year. That's crazy. Carl Nassib becomes first active NFL player. We went over that. Lori Loughlin and Massimo Giannoli puts Varsity Blues behind them as they are spotted in Cabo. Prince Harry will stay with Princess Eugene at Frogmore Cottage when he returns to UK. I don't care about any of that. Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson split after he spotted with 3 women. I didn't even know they had got back together. Scientists recast Paleolithic lightning to determine how our ancestors saw in caves. Psaki calls Joe Manchin voting rights compromise a step forward. I keep getting electric shock when I touch things. Dr. Martin Skull answer your health questions. Man shoots dead his ex-girlfriend outside his home in Brazil. Alright. So let's check out the Washington Examiner. McCarthy unveils 8-step GOP plan to hold China accountable for COVID-19 cover-up. That sounds interesting. Let's see what's going on with this. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy laid out an action plan on Monday to hold the Chinese government accountable for its alleged cover-up of COVID-19 at the start of the pandemic. The California Republican cited 8 pillars of transparency and justice initiative seeking additional information from Beijing about the pandemic, taking steps to punish China. Quote, like all of you, I am deeply angry about the avoidable loss of life, hope, and futures resulting from the Chinese Communist Party's action. They and their conspirators must be held accountable, McCarthy wrote in a letter to House members. But again, I am so cynical about this because we know China has dirt on Biden, so Biden is not going to hold him accountable. The 4-point compromise, the transparency aspects of the plan include introducing legislation to declassify any information about the virus's origins revealed during President Joe Biden's requested investigation on the matter by the intelligence community. McCarthy also wants to prohibit gain-of-function research in and with China, stop the National Institute of Health from funding malevolent foreign governments, including China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, and push the United States to conduct counterintelligence investigations to the World Health Organization, which Biden wants to go and refund again after Trump defunded them. They've done absolutely nothing to help us during this crisis. and all they did was protect China. That's all the World Health Organization did. And Biden wanna give them more money. The justice portion of the plan will seek to continue COVID-19 investigations led by Biden and Congress, pass visa restrictions and economic sanctions on anyone associated with the Chinese government and the World Health Organization, waive Chinese sovereign immunity to let families of people who died from the virus sue the Chinese government, and relocate the 2022 Winter Olympics to Beijing. I agree with every single one of these points. Biden and other world leaders who attend the G7 summit in Cornwall earlier this month vowed to investigate the origins of COVID-19 in China. Sure you are. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Sunday the administration is not planning to take action, of course not, against China until there is an international consensus. And we went over that in the last headlines. I don't think they're going to do anything to hold them accountable. More than 33 million cases of COVID-19 have been diagnosed in the U.S. and more than 600,000 nationwide deaths have been attributed to the disease, according to the Johns Hopkins University Coronavirus Tracker. Yeah. We'll see what happens, but I'm not very optimistic. We are at Washington Examiner still. Camille's White House I cannot pronounce that. Khamenei still decision maker after presidential election in Iran. So that's the guy that won as president. And they said only like 50% of the people actually voted. It was one of the lowest voting turnout in a long time. A lot of people was protesting because they called the whole election a sham in Iran. Psaki, Biden's strategy for combat national crime spike will focus on gun violence and gun safety. That's not the issue. The issue is y'all running around talking about defunding the police, and so people think they can get away with crime. That's why crime is going up. Has nothing to do with gun violence. Has nothing to do with gun safety. If you really want to help people, you should put guns in law-abiding citizens' hands to protect themselves. That's what you can do. Even Democrats are balking at Bernie Sanders' $6 trillion spending plan. $6 trillion. Again, who's going to pay for all of that? The middle class is. Because you can't. All the rich people are going to get away with not paying taxes. That's why they hire these expensive accountants and stuff, so they can get away with not paying taxes. So the middle class is going to be stuck with the bill. Portman says Senate Republicans are absolutely committed to getting bipartisan infrastructure bill. Top Trump officials are gearing up for court fight over Biden energy policies. Good. Democratic infighting could doom Biden's infrastructure agenda. Cooper vetoes gun rights expansion in religious places. Let's see. Abbott signs bill ending teledentistry ban. What is teledentistry? I guess like mental health, telehealth. I guess I never. How can you fix someone's teeth over over the internet? I don't know. But Pennsylvania small business to get more insurance data under proposal. Governor signed broad tax reduction bill with controversial mental health funding update. Let's see. This has to do with mental health, so I definitely want to check this out. The tax reduction package and mental health funding realignment signed by Governor Kim Reynolds is described by Iowa's Republican legislation as a significant achievement. Senate File 6119 passed May 18th in an extended legislation session to address specifically tax issues and was signed by the governor on Wednesday. Quote, today the Iowa Senate made Iowa more competitive. Senate Majority Leader Jack Weaver, Republican, said last month, reducing the top income tax rate to 6.5 means Iowa families will keep more of the money they earn. Lower income tax rates make this state more attractive to small businesses and people looking for a new home. It's true. You raise taxes, you're just going to run people off because people aren't going to pay those taxes if they can afford to move out. Quote, phasing out of the inheritance tax, and that's another thing. The inheritance tax that the federal government, Joe Biden wants the federal government to be able to raise the inheritance tax. So you would have to pay it with the state and federal government, which Biden want to raise again. I talked about that earlier. Phasing out the inheritance tax ends the unjust practice of taxing the dead. Eliminating the mental health levy finally provides actual property tax relief for Iowans. What does mental health levy? What is the mental health levy? I don't get that. Iowans asked for tax relief, and the Iowa Senate has answered those calls. I'm gonna have to look more into that. They don't really explain it. So let's see. All right. Where we left off at. Pennsylvania small businesses to get more insurance data under proposal. Officials in Western Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, are seeking millions of dollars from state to help keep. So, why do a small business need insurance data? I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Hunter Biden still hasn't divested from Chinese government-linked investment firm. Of course not, because the media and Congress aren't gonna do anything about it. It's crazy. Hunter Biden still appears to hold an ownership stake in a Chinese government-linked investment firm, despite repeated pledges from the President Joe Biden that his family would not have any foreign business ties. The troubled son of Joe Biden still holds 10% equity stake in Bohai Harvest RST Shanghai Equity Investment Fund Management Company, according to the Chinese business records. Hunter Biden has reportedly been under criminal investigation as far back as 2018 as federal authorities scrutinize his taxes and potentially his foreign business dealings and the 51-year-old financial transactions with China might be at the forefront. That's despite White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki in February saying the president's son has been working to unwind his 10% stake in the firm. Of course, he's not gonna do it. He's gonna keep getting that money because they're allowing him to do it. Simple as that. Though one of his lawyers, George Messiahs, Hunter Biden had promised to leave the board of the Chinese firm by the end of October 2019, but his resignation was submitted to China's National Credit Information Publicity System in the spring 2020. 3 Chinese business websites run by Baidu, Quixin, and QCC all show updates with Hunter Biden's name being removed from the BHR board of directors in April 2020, but the site also currently show a limited liability corporation, Scannikes, these names are killing me, owned solely by Hunter Biden and still being a sponsor shareholder with 3 million won, it's $464,000, invested in the company, purported compromising a 10% stake in the China-based business venture. He's gonna keep that. He's gonna keep that money because, again, the media is not gonna make him give it up. All right, let's see what else we got. We'll do a couple more. Y'all share this out. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let's see. We are Still. West Virginia Supreme Court reinstates trans student lawsuit. Washington offering cash, gift cards, and vaccine lottery for National Guard. People not taking it, so they gotta start having lotteries and stuff, so more people will take it. Anti-government activist Amon Bundy running for Idaho governor. Alright, let's see. Daily Wire. We talked about Carl already. DeSantis rises as he promises he only begun to fight. Put on full armor of God to fight the left. I like to hear that. Facebook clarifies satire and community standards, developing a framework for assessing humor. What? Y'all know DEMOCREPUBLIX. We just got on Facebook. I finally broke down and got on Facebook. So DEMOCREPUBLIX is on Facebook now. Let's see. Facebook's oversight board, fresh from its controversial pardon and extension of former President Donald Trump's suspension from the platform for at least 2 years, have announced that the big tech giant will be updating its community standards in order to clarify what it deems satire. So they are literally regulating satire now. This is crazy when comedy is being regulated. This is straight Marxism. Quote, on March 2nd, 2021, the Oversight Board selected a case appealed by someone on Facebook regarding a comment with the meme depicting Turkey having to choose between the Armenian genocide is a lie and Armenians were terrorists who deserve it. It's a freaking meme. It's satire. How are you regulating this, Facebook? The post referenced by the Oversight Board was a version of the popular Two Buttons meme. The Facebook company took down the content for violating our policy on hate speech. That's not hate, as laid out in the Facebook community standards. We do not allow hate speech on Facebook, even in the context of satire, because it creates an environment of intimidation and exclusion, and in some cases may promote real-world violence, Facebook continued. Unsurprisingly, Facebook said they welcomed the Oversight Board selected a case on this case, and had immediately reinstated the content. The social media platform then listed a range of recommendations given by the Oversight Board, many of which related to satirical content. The first such recommendation, which Facebook are implementing fully, involved adding the satire exemption, which is currently not communicated to users in the public language of the hate speech community. They literally want to regulate satire. Something has to be done with these media giants. Something has to be done. All right. Still on the Daily Wire. We went over U.S. trends. NYC mayor rips Amazon Prime Day. Perfect day not to shop Amazon. Former Obama task force member says rise in crime is fault of the police. So they are blaming the police. Biden blames guns. Obama people blames the police. Not them defunding the police and letting people get away with crimes. That's not the issue. It's the police that's the issue. Fauci and D.C. Mayor Bauer heckle as they go door by door pushing vaccine. Wow. Come knock on my door. Please come knock on my door. Oh, man. All right, let's see. I'm not going to go over. I need to just... Sometimes I think about deleting Drudge Report because Drudge Report is horrible now. They used to be really good, but I just keep this feed up here just to see what crazy stuff they're talking about. Drudge used to be so good, and then I don't know what happened. I think Matt Drudge sold the website. I keep saying. Breitbart. United Nations applaud Biden bringing 4 times more refugees to the U.S. as Trump. Wow. Taxpayers will now pay for transgender veterans. We talked about that yesterday. Biden may end Title 42, allowing feds to remove migrants amid pandemic by July. Legal expert proposed common carrier regulations as solution for big tech censorship. Let's see what's going on with this. First Amendment experts propose using common carrier regulation to prevent behemoth big tech platforms from discriminating against users' free speech, contending that these platforms exercise more control over public discourse than most people in history. And that is true. They have more power than the government. Because these platforms are so huge, they're basically utilities because that's how people communicate nowadays. And if you get banned off it, you pretty much don't exist. The Federalist Society for Law and Public Policy hosted a panel of nationally renowned First Amendment experts in June, including Eugene Volokh and UCLA School of Law professor Jed Rubenfeld, a professor at Yale Law School, and Mary Ann Franks, a law professor at the University of Miami, moderated by the Judge Gregory Casas of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. The experts discussed using public utility and common carrier approaches to combat censorship on big tech platforms. And that's basically what I was saying. It's basically a utility now, where like a telephone. When you use a telephone, you know what I'm saying, no one tells you what you can and can't say on it. It's a utility. They can't cut you off. The same thing with electricity. It's a utility. They can't cut you off from electricity because of your political beliefs or such things like that. And I think these big tech ones, the big ones that everyone's on, they should be considered utilities also. This approach contrasts with some who suggest alternating Section 230. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about messing with 230 because it'll hurt small people like people like me that have a blog that has a comment section and people are free to comment, but I won't be held liable by anything that's happening on my website. What if they start taking out small people like me and I'll be held liable? I don't have the manpower to moderate my comment section, and small blogs and other blogs don't have that capacity either. So I'm kind of leery of messing with Section 230. I think we should just classify them as utilities. And they basically bringing up the same points I made. Quote, telephone carriers cannot say, oh, we don't like your speech, so you cannot use our services, Volokh said of common carrier regulations. And that's the same point I made. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. I'm glad people are actually talking about it. They got some good legal experts actually talking about it. But what we got to do more than talking. What are they actually doing about it? That's the question. Let's see. Anything else on Breitbart? I think that's it for today. Maybe I will, if I decide. It's getting kind of late. I'm a little tired. Worked pretty hard today, so I probably won't come back on tonight. But y'all let me know what y'all think. And click that thumbs up. Please click that thumbs up and share this stuff out on the various platforms. We'll probably end up censoring this anyway, but please push it out. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what y'all think about all the stuff we went over. Again, like, share, subscribe. And if you like to donate, you can go to PayPal, DEMOCREPUBLIX, or you can go to Cash App and type in JPsych, or you can go to DEMOCREPUBLIX.com. Just click the donate button over there and donate that way. And just let us know what you think. Check you later. Till next time.